sports listeners. I'm your host, Erica Salda, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
every single Tuesday.
This whole hour of Sound Bar with teen athletes. Woo! And we're talking all athletes. Fantastic. Another beautiful morning as Dominiqie Hackett crashes into me. This is what's been going on, I tell you. Had a big birthday over the weekend. Got to thank my love and respect, ultimate respect, goes to massage. I want to, you're like my body man, okay? Don, the body man, Sanders. Thank you so much. He stopped by, gave me a little surprise, a little pre-set-up thing, birthday. Then, of course, Kristine Marie swings by. I thought she was going to say happy birthday for me. She goes, no, I just knew Don was coming over here and I want to get some body work. Then Dana came over and said, I thought I'm all like wanting to be greeted on my birthday all day. But no, Don, it was about you. Okay? When Don is in town, the women line up out the front door. What's going on, Don?
I'm happy to support in any way I can, unwind all those.
Everyone's smiling.
Yes. And
everyone is smiling.
Get everybody feeling back to a good baseline good.
Well, I also have to throw a quick shout out. Happy birthday, Erica. But also, you don't feel so bad about it in the 6-0. All right. My mother on the 17th of September, the past Friday, turned 87. Okay?
Nice.
So she's got you beat.
That's why we get along so good.
That's right. By 27 years.
I was your mother in a different life.
There you go. Anyway, congratulations on making it to that milestone. And we hope that you have, and this is only if you want, 60 more.
Oh, no. 60 more, I don't know. As long as I have purpose here and the universe can use me as it will, as it wants, I'm here.
There you go.
And I wanted to just say, I just got a text from a friend of mine. I don't know if the folks out there know it, but there's a epic housing crisis, especially when it comes to our youth and our kids and our teens. Mm-hmm. I've already reached out 3 times now, today being the most recent. This is a very close friend of mine who actually knows the basketball player on the girls' Gaucho basketball team that is like prayer handsing me. I could take a snap thing of this 55 prayer hands. Somehow she knows the student that needs housing. I'm hearing stories that's all over the world. I don't know how. Are kids sleeping in their car? I don't know. But I maybe, Dominique, you're pretty much on the pulse of what's going on.
I heard part of the problem is that the previous students, because of the COVID, you can't evict order by the president, previous students are still in the dwellings that new students have paid for. And so now those new students, a lot of them are having to sleep in their cars.
I want to just we've been around now for 12 years, have supported, of course, the community, over 24,000 free advertising minutes for all those that we have supported over the last 12 years since we are a teen sports radio show. If you find or hear, or maybe just reach out to the AD at UCSB, and I'll work to get his name, maybe some contact information. I could post it up on our site. And if you have a room, it's really for love. They'll give you a stipend. It's not a. I know you can rent the room for a lot more money. All right, that's obvious. But this way we're really helping the athletes and the teens in our community that we've supported for over a decade now. And we are a community show, so maybe one listener out there, Dominique and I will be, I just need a down day because I'm still emotional about losing our Nico after all through high school and 2 years of City College. We moved him 2 days ago, we moved him to UC Irvine. And but getting the room all fixed up and painted and everything for the next, it's just part of my ministry, I guess. Since my kids took off to college, I've always taken kids. So it just is a reminder for my mom, who came over as a young woman, and my parents needed a break, and it's just my way of giving back. So if anybody out there has some space, please.
So it was in the Santa Barbara Independent. The dean says UCSB course shortage at crisis level. So it says undergrads looking for, there's all sorts of difficult things going on with the university campuses and trying to deal with COVID. So,
right, because they can't house as many.
You can help out is really appreciated.
Well, isn't it too that they can't house as many students as they used to? There used to be 2, 3, 4 students in a room. Now there's maybe 1 or 2, right?
Correct. Yep.
Oh, that's because it's a COVID mandate?
Yes.
Is that what that is? Okay,
Yep.
Got it. Doesn't matter if everybody's vaccinated?
No.
Just saying. What's the rules?
It doesn't.
If you had 1 unvaccinated person, you're only allowed 2. If there were 4, I don't know what the law.
There's no shift.
Okay, not a big shift. All right. So again, I just wanted to do some tidiness on that. We've got a huge show. I want to talk a little bit since we opened the door about the vaccine. We have not mentioning any names, 2 of our friends right now are having bad reactions towards it. So I know that there's different, just so happens we have healers in the room, and Richard Ellsworth is going to be joining us soon. So I want to talk about that when Richard gets there. Dominique, what do you want to talk about?
Supporting the immune system. So immunity is an inside job.
Definitely.
And all the different things we could do to support our immunity. And the basics, actually, Dr. Fauci talked about the basics of supporting the immune system at the very beginning of our COVID epidemic. He talked about sleep, sunshine, exercise, good food, and clean water. Those are the basics of supporting your immune system.
All right, cool. Well, wheels up. Let's take a break. We've got some new commercials. We'll be right back with more after these messages. We are back, and this is Santa Barbara Teen Sports Radio Show. I am your host, Erica Salda, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
every single Tuesday,
9 a.m. Okay, we are back again. We've got Dominiqie Hackett in the house with Kristine Marie, of course, our producer, Richard Dugan, and Dawn Sanders. And I just wanted to open just the floor. Again, this is not a political discussion of whether to take the shot or not take the shot. We're just talking about if you had the shot. We know of a few people right now who are affiliated with our show, who are co-hosts, who are having reactions to the shot. So we want to help. So if you decided to take the shot, great. I'll drive you there if you wanted to get the shot. But what if you're not feeling that hot 1-2 days after or soon after? So let's go around the room and see if we can help.
So, basically, you're supposed to be, having conversations with your healthcare provider. That's number one. And then number 2 is you treat yourself as though you have the flu. So that means bed rest. That means lots of fluids. That means that you don't do this alone. You want to, talk to your family members and let them know what your symptoms are so that somebody's checking in with you at least every 4 hours. And the main problem that most people have is they forget to drink. And so they get dehydrated. And most frequently, that's how people end up in the hospital, whether they have the flu or any kind of reaction. It's fluids. Fluids are really important. So if you can sip even just warm water, is really fantastic. Don, you've got some ideas too.
Yeah, I agree with you totally about the hydration. And I also think it's important that, I had the J&J 1 shot and I had no really reaction. But just as a baseline for your immune system, I think it's really good to cut down on your sugar intake. I think it's really important to cut down on your distractions from different kinds of blue light screens, TVs, so if you can just use it for business and get your priority items done and don't spend so much time on there with entertainment and other kinds of things, I think that's really, really important. And then just, all the different kinds. I'm Richard Ellsworth could speak better to this, but or more comprehensively to this. But I always carry around some elderberry lozenges and things that I can do that I know. I mean, yes, there's a pandemic and a life-threatening potential out there, but I haven't even gotten a cold during this because, I've been taking better care of just the basic preventative health concerns.
I will go ahead, Kristine.
I should say, I have too. I haven't gotten a cold. And anytime I feel like I might be getting a cold, I end up drinking water, resting, doing some other things. And one of the things I've done for the last several months is really gotten myself out into nature on a regular basis in the mornings. I actually do a beach walk every morning at about sunrise. And funnily enough, I go barefoot and people look at me like I'm crazy, but I've got all these blankets now. It's chilling up. I've got, I'm covered, I'm up top, but I just have to have my feet in the water. And it feels fine to me and I'm not getting sick. I think it's really important to connect in with nature and the negative ions and all those sort of things are really, really very helpful for our immune systems.
And I think what you are doing and what Donna's doing, reducing our stress level, which is what you're doing, Kristine, does a great deal, along with taking in as many fluids as you possibly can, diluting whatever's going on in there, flushing out the toxins, but also not generating more toxins through the stressors. And if you're watching television, listening to the radio, specifically news in that regard, turn it off. Don't because that is going to generate a lot of those toxins in your body. You wouldn't think so, but that's what stress does. So getting out in nature, walking barefoot so that your feet, if you can, your feet are touching Mother Earth and connecting to that energy, that goes a long way. That really does.
Yeah, and I just want to mention the thing about, staying away from media. There's a lot of fear. People are very afraid, and there's a lot of things that are happening in the media to not make us afraid, but people are expressing fear. And then that resonates with more fear on us, and it catches the fear in our own systems, and we get more scared, then we get more toxins in our system. And so it does very much help me to go to the beach and not listen to those certain things. Yeah. I also wanted to say that I did hear that a new vaccine is going to be coming out called the Novavax, which is towards the end of this year, beginning of the new year. That is a very traditional vaccine. It goes back to the old school type of vaccine, even more old school than the J&J. It doesn't involve DNA or RNA. And so there's something, for your systems. For myself, I'm very, very sensitive to things. And so I have opted not to take the current vaccinations because I'm afraid of reactions that are going to happen in my own body that are very painful. I'm waiting to see what that next one's going to look like.
And I think, too, that everyone has to, obviously, as even Erica has said, make up their own mind. And everyone else needs to not pass judgment on whatever that decision is. I've found, too, and I'm not sure, I haven't tested this. I don't know, but I'm sure that other Reiki masters would probably say that, let's just say for the sake of argument, that prior to your getting vaccinated, if that is your choice, you just kind of do a little self-healing in that process, that whatever is going to be coming into your body will be for your best and highest good, and go ahead and do that. And then just keep moving forward and do the things that we've already talked about. I love, Kristine, what you're doing in terms of walking barefoot on the beach and getting your feet in the water and so forth. I want to know, though, if you are going to be doing that in December and January when the water is really cold.
Yes, because I'm acclimating myself right now. But what I wanted to talk about, or just mention before what you mentioned, Dr. Richard, is that sovereignty is so important. Sovereignty, our internal sovereignty, and trusting ourselves. I have a friend who's been feeling very pressured by her family, even though she doesn't feel right. And I said, I would support you in doing whatever you need to do, as long as you're doing it for you and you know it's right with your body and you're trusting that information and that message in your system. I think it's really important not to be pressured or to allow ourselves, even with some of the negative pressures that are coming out again. It will help to be out in nature and de-stress.
Exactly. And one of the things one of the things that I said to my wife 20 years ago when she was diagnosed with cancer, I asked her point blank, do you want to live or do you want to die? I may not like your choice, but I will support you in it. See, we don't have to like somebody's choice, but we certainly don't have to condemn them for it. We need to support them in that choice, especially like what you were talking about, Kristine, having adverse reactions to it. We need to be there for that person, like Don would be there, or anyone else, myself, sending healing energy through Reiki and so forth, to support you in moving through that process. Erica.
Well, I just wanted to remind teens that part of what we're embracing in society is no segregation. I mean, that's what the 60s were all about. It was no segregation. We are an integrated community. And as an integrated community, we've gone through flu pandemics. We've gone through all sorts of different pandemics. But we want to stay integrated and know we want to welcome everyone and know that immunity is an inside job.
Yes.
We've had, Dominique and I have had many conversations with people, and the first questions that are asked of us if we have been vaccinated, and the answer, very full disclosure, is no. And again, Dominique and I are not going to participate in any kind of segregation whatsoever. However, we have 2 6-foot tables, and if somebody is in need of visiting, you could wear a mask. We could sit 6 feet apart. We love you. You don't want to hug. We don't have to hug, because at the end of the day, this isn't you're telling me what you're going through, because I'm not going through this. Mm-hmm. And Dominique isn't going through this. We're here to support the community and whatever decisions a person makes. That's what unity is, right? That's what leadership is. Yeah. It's about staying in your own lane. Yeah. And we could be in alignment to the left and to the right. We don't all agree on this panel about things, but the difference is
we respect one another
completely.
By the way, just adding one more element to this equation, with what Kristine is doing, what Don has suggested, what you folks have suggested in terms of taking care of your physical body, whatever you can do, and I don't have any statistics or any information, facts to back this up. All I know is that if we will do everything we can to strengthen our immune system, which was designed initially to fight these things off, then, it's not to say that we're going to be immune to these things, but at least our immune system will help us get through it maybe quicker, with fewer severe side effects and this kind of thing, whether it's the virus, whether it's the shot, or anything else, like you were saying, no cold. If you haven't had a cold, that means that you've got a heck of a great immune system. You've really strengthened it.
Yeah, if teens just know, immunity is an inside job.
That's it right there. Absolutely.
Exactly. All right, let's do this. We've got a couple of minutes, but I want to take a shorty since we have more content towards when Richard gets back in the house, because he's got a couple of things he's going to talk about, and I want to give him some more time. So let's take a little break. Wheels up. We'll be back in 2 minutes and 2 seconds.
Well, now together we will stand, every boy, girl, woman, and a man.
And this is Santa Barbara Teen Sports Radio Show. I am your host, Erica Salda, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
every single Tuesday,
9 a.m.
Welcome back to Teen Sports Radio.
Whoa!
Well, what I have in school is procrastination. And amazingly, my mom is getting ready for her trip. She's delayed it for 2 years, but she's finally doing a trip to Europe. And I watched her procrastinate on packing. Really amazed me because my mom is, technically 21 years older than I am. So we're talking about an older person procrastinating who normally doesn't procrastinate. So I just wanted to bring up that procrastination is normal. Not only is it normal, but there are a lot of psychologists suggesting that you don't actually want to get rid of it in this way. Procrastination causes our brains to hyperfocus because our adrenaline kicks in the closer we get to a deadline. And that hyperfocus is sometimes able to produce a better paper, a better essay than what we might have produced if we had a long time that we were dwelling on it and we kept changing it back and forth, changing it back and forth. So not to fear, if you are experiencing procrastination, there are a couple of things that you can do so that you don't get stalled out and never start. And the first thing that my kiddos have taught me about procrastination is you break it down. So as soon as you realize your procrastination has literally stalled you to a fright where you haven't even started, grab a piece of paper. And what you want to do is list all the steps, including the miney little processes. Clearing your desk so that your desk can hold the books that you need in order to research the paper that you're trying to write. You want to create your processes so that, do you want to switch places? You want to create the processes so that it takes the panic out of your instincts. And your body says, oh, we can do this. I know this little micro step. It is something I recognize, and I know how to get this done. So that's the number one, is writing down little micro processes. The other thing is visualize the goal that you have. So if your goal, you want to see yourself submitting your essay, submitting your assignment on time, and getting a good grade. And you want to feel really good about that. So holding that vision and having that vision being important to you will help you with the momentum to get the ball rolling. And then there is also some people schedule work time and then they schedule reward time. So some people have suggested work for like 45 minutes on a project and then give yourself at least 15 minutes to do something that you really enjoy. And then you go back to the cycle of working again and then take a break and reward yourself with some off time. So those are a couple of different things to work with in regards to procrastination. But the main thing is you don't aim for perfection. The enemy of good enough is, perfection is the enemy of good enough. And good enough is good enough. So that's the goal that you're going for. Not perfection, but good enough. Anyone else have some ideas about this wonderful beast that we all struggle with called procrastination?
I have a question. What is the difference between your suggestions and, of course, your admonition that procrastination is a good thing, and as a student, cramming at the last minute?
Kristine, go for it. You're an educator.
So cramming last minute. Well, one of the things I wanted to say that came to mind as you were speaking, Dominique, is that rhythm replaces strength, which means that if we get to something in our rhythm bodies, no matter how, whatever age we are, as a kindergarten teacher, I did the same thing all the time. And the kids were used to it and they knew I didn't have to tell anything. I just rang a bell or I just said a certain sentence and everybody knew what was happening next and just would do it. And people would be like, wow, how do you do that? I'd be like, it's all in the rhythm, right? And I think with our lives in general, too, in my early 20s, I really learned about that, especially when I went to college and I started to have a really rhythmical life. I didn't have a rhythmical life before that as a teenager. I had more of a chaotic growing up. And so I think implementing our own structures and our own rhythms as soon as we can in our lives, no matter what age we are, especially as a teenager, to say, okay, I'm going to eat breakfast or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, despite what's what's happening in my life around me. That really helps. And also what I learned in college for myself was, I would call it the law of perfect timing with papers, because I would do my reading and I went to classes and I did the things that needed to be done. But sometimes I did procrastinate papers, but there was something happening in my own brain structure where I had done the reading. I knew what the thing was about. I would think about it sometimes. And I did procrastinate, but somehow a paper would come fully written out of my brain and into my computer. But let me tell you, I only had a typewriter in the beginning of my college years. Then I had a Mac, one of the first Macs in the last 2 years. And so once that Mac, it changed everything, because I could just throw everything out and then rearrange it. And so I think there's a thing with procrastination, especially when we're in college or in high school, we have a lot of things on our plate. When we're in school, it's, trusting the process of things, getting a rhythm set with ourselves, and then just and doing whatever it is we need to do to get it done.
Yeah, and so those rhythm is the rhythm of those micro processes. Mm-hmm. And that's what a lot of psychologists recommend. If you focus on the satisfaction of your overall vision of what you're trying to get done, and then you get used to the rhythm of these micro processes, you'll find that the procrastination you do experience will not be so overwhelming, and you won't get frozen in time. You'll actually complete the thing you're trying to complete.
Right. The structure in college itself, or in high school itself, is that we're at the classes at these certain times. And then what we do with our time on our own time, how do we structure that time? How do we get a rhythm into that? And if we do that, then our brains get in that, and we have the capacity to, it's just this time, and our brain will just click in. What say you, Richard Ellsworth, who just joined us?
Well, Richard, Dr. D mentioned cramming for exams. And before you give your thoughts, I was just going to add in, when I was studying for the Series 7 to take the big test to become a stockbroker, I was told cram, but the night before the exam, do not study. I was told to go to the movies. I was told to totally relax, don't open my books, and just totally relax. And that the next morning, what I did when I went to my test, I had a piece of paper and I wrote down all the things that I had memorized in order to categorize a lot of information. I wrote down all my memory tables on a piece of paper, and then I took my test. So, Richard, we're talking about procrastination. Would you like to add a few cents in? Because you've done a lot of studying to help teens with procrastination and maybe even cramming for tests.
I thought you were going to say I do a lot of procrastination. And I do. I'm probably the world's biggest procrastinator, but I do get away with it. And my strategy that I use is I take every piece of information that I'm learning that I have to spit out on a test or paper or whatever, and I write it down. And when I write it down, it gets it into my subconscious mind so quickly. And one of the techniques that I do a lot, especially if I have a big test that I have to study for, is I'll make a PowerPoint of the material as though I'm going to teach it. And the act of making the PowerPoint gets it into my head. And there's also something about communicating the information to someone else. When you communicate the information to someone else where you feel like you're the instructor, it now surrounds what it is that you're learning with a sense of confidence, which allows that material to just permeate your brain a lot more easily because there's less resistance in there. So the other thing is you can take that PowerPoint and take that material and try and give it to somebody, and try and teach a friend or a relative. And, even if they're feigning interest, and, you could tell that they, really couldn't care less, or I guess could care less. I always get that expression backwards. Just that verbal dialogue, that getting it out as though you're teaching, as though you're the expert on that subject, is a great way to really get it in your brain.
Beautiful. I love that. That is awesome. That's really good chatter right there. Hey, Richard, I know you've got stuff working from last week, a little carryover from what we've And also, I'm going to pop another question to you. So let's wait on that in mystery, okay? until we go through our messages. We'll be back with more after these messages.
Brazil. Back in the USSR. Way down in LA. Every day, dancing in the street. Crossing China too. Me and you, dancing in the street.
We are back, and this is Santa Barbara Teen Sports Radio Show. I am your host, Erica Salda, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
every single Tuesday,
9 a.m.
You're back with Teen Sports Radio. Don Sanders, you had an awesome comment in regards to procrastination.
Yeah, I mean, somebody mentioned the rhythmic aspect of life a while ago, and 34 years ago, I was taught this chant that I still do, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, and there's a macro universe outside us, and we're part of that, and we connect to it like a little cog, two wheels that go together like a cog. So that we need to be in a more dynamic rhythm to lift our life condition, to be able to get us over these humps, these sort of self-limiting, sort of devilish functions that can make us feel like our present circumstances is all we have to work with. There's so much more just right outside of that little box that we feel stuck in. And so everything everyone has said is part of that, but there's times when you have to surrender and sort of spiral down. And then, if you punch back too soon, maybe you won't feel that dynamic or that confident. So maybe you need to go down to the bottom and kind of bounce. And as you're coming back up, then it's like, so you need a fresh idea. So when you raise your life condition, that's what I do. When I feel like I don't know what to do, then I sit down and chant. And so I'll give you a recent example. We were putting out an intention. I've heard it's a good thing not to just think your intention, but to speak your intention. So yes. we were coming across the Santa Barbara Channel on an Island Packers boat. Shout out to the fabulous folks at Island Packers who take you to the Channel Islands. And I'm chanting on the bow. I'm standing in the bow and I'm like, I want to see whales. I want to see dolphins. So next thing you know, the boat slows down and the biologist on board goes, okay, right in front of you, watch. There's a humpback whale. You're going to see the spout. Now look over to your right. And the water is just churning with dolphins. She said, this pod over here probably has 1,000 dolphins in it. And next thing you know, they come playing in the bow wake. The humpback whale is breaching, and everybody, something we touched on earlier, it's like, everybody just responded with joy. Like this humpback would do a high arch and then its flukes would come out of the water and everybody in the boat was just going, ah! and these dolphins were just every which direction. You couldn't have done it better with CGI. It was splash and coming up under the boat and then breathing and everything. So it's like, that's always there for us, just outside that place we think we're stuck.
Mm.
That's beautiful. Fantastic. Yeah. All right. We've got a lot of show, and what I want to do is take another break, and then when we get back, we're going to be having Richard Ellsworth is going to come back with a lot more after these messages.
Teen Sports Radio Show. I am your host, Erica Salda, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
every single Tuesday,
9 a.m.
This is Richard Ellsworth with Mountain Sage Healing Arts and the Braille Institute. And
Richard, I'm glad you're here. You're a little late. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, I have a question for you. I know we're going to set you up for Mountain High, or whatever you want to call it, whatever your segment is carrying over from last week. But I have a little question for you. In the very beginning of the show, we were talking about the effects if somebody decided to get vaccinated. And again, we're not talking about getting vaccinated or not vaccinated. The show is all about individuality and making up your own mind. But what we do want to do is we want to offer assistance to our teens who have decided to get inoculated, or young adults, senior citizens. We just have had this last week, Dominique and I have had 3-4 friends that have had or suffering side effects from the shot. So we want, as a community show, we want to offer support. So we've had some great information from Kristine, and Dr. D has led his thoughts, and we had Don Sanders throw in. So you have a wealth of information. So is there a protocol that you've researched or came up with yourself that we can aid the body maybe before, during, or after a vaccination?
Yeah, so the real problem, well, I shouldn't call it a problem per se, but what creates the side effects typically from a vaccine are the things that are in the vaccine that are not the actual virus itself. The actual virus itself that is going to make your body develop the antibodies, nothing wrong with that at all. But there can be other things in there that can cause problems. Sometimes they're heavy metals. If you're worried about heavy metals, cilantro is probably one of the best things you can do. And I used to get this jar of cilantro chutney from a local Indian grocery store. And the cilantro chutney, you could just take like a tablespoon of that, whether you put it on something, and you just start getting hot flashes in 5 to 10 minutes. And that's your body pushing out all of those toxins and processing the heavy metals, all your detox pathways opening up. And the other thing to be concerned about, I mean, because it's not entirely known exactly what could be in there, the body processes things out if it has the resources and energy to do so. So a lot of people that I've found have blocked detox pathways, and that can be why they're reacting. One of the ways to deal with blocked detox pathways is with a supplement that I've mentioned on here before called calcium D-glucarate. And calcium D-glucarate, it does this thing where it will stabilize the hormones and metabolize estrogen. And when estrogen is properly metabolized and not in excess, it kind of opens up the floodgate of your detox pathways, and it allows things to start flowing out of you. So that's really great. And the other important thing is high fiber diets. If ever you're trying to get anything out of your system, residual effects of anything, it's that fiber, that soluble fiber that's going to push everything through. So when you're eating food, celery? Your body will heal itself.
What's high fiber?
Celery's celery, apples. Apples is a really big one. Your resistant starches. So your potatoes, your all your root vegetables, your potatoes, your parsnips, your carrots, your Jerusalem artichoke, your turnips, your yams, all that.
Richard,
those things particularly have it.
Okay, so Dawn, I have a question real quick. Just popped into me. So if you've mentioned this earlier, I had lunch, so I missed it. But to recap. If you were going to say decided to get the vaccine on Friday, would you get body work the day before, after the shot, or the next day? How would you recommend a person who really wanted to decided to get the shot, but wanted to do everything they could to support their system and not to have a side effect?
Well, I think a lot of what I've heard with reactions is the second shot to those 2-shot things. That's what I've heard the most discomfort. Like people have said they've they've never had a problem or missed a day of work, and they were down in bed and everything. So, you're not, if you don't know if you're going to have a reaction, you don't want to probably have body work if you're just feeling miserable and you don't want to necessarily be seen or touched. So I would just think that before you go into the whole process, you just get yourself set up by, like I said, I'm trying to get you back to a good baseline, like maybe shift down to unwind to a refreshed baseline. So then hopefully you go into the process and you get your 1 shot, or you get your 2 shot, or you're going for your booster or whatever it is. And then, we've been talking about building immunity this whole show. So, hopefully if you're doing some of these things for yourself, then you're going to be more resilient when you come up against whatever the virus is going to do. The vaccine is going to do in your body.
Right. Well, we're in the fall, and I love what Kristine's doing, taking those beach walks, getting her out there into nature. But I know there's more energy that we can share with the community energetically. And Kristine, this is your world. So what do you want to add? I know there's something else. What else can we do? Okay,
well, this is Kristine Marie with A View from the Deck. You can find me on Facebook at A View from the Deck if you'd like. I haven't done that much there, but I'm going to be doing more. More seems to be coming to me. I recently attended a training with some energy worker that I work with. His name is Christoph Melchizedek. He has something called the Neo-Shamanic Society. It's kind of going to a different level with energy work. And he gave a whole protocol on how to help shift what happens what's happening energetically with the vaccine. And what's being noticed in the energy work that he's working with is that our chakras are spinning backwards for some reason with the vaccine, and that the throat chakra is actually shutting down. And so what's been the advice has been to really align with what I call the high holy and the holy earth. You see that bright line of light that we are. Like, I believe as a human being, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, and I bridge heaven and earth, right? And so if I'm bridging the high with God and the low with not low, but the earth, the material and the light, just aligning with that and protecting myself, filling myself with light and love, and seeing chakras. I don't know if you know much about chakras, but they are supposed to spin clockwise. That's a healthy chakra, 6 inches of clockwise space, kind of like a flower opening up. And we have we have them at our third eye, our throat, our heart, our solar plexus, right below our belly button, and then our 7th chakra points up and our 1st chakra points down. And so, the energy, and there's a whole energetic flow that happens with our systems. And when we are in right energetic flow, that also helps with the immune system of our bodies. So if anybody wants to talk more about that, or to, you can get in touch with me on Facebook. You can give me a call at 805-350-2705. And I'm happy to, if you're having some reactions, I'd be happy to work on this protocol with you and see how it works for you, because they're getting a lot of really good results from the training that I did. So, Kristine Marie.
Good job. I do that. I do it.
That's so awesome. And that kind of flows into Richard Ellsworth's next topic, because I know a lot of friends, when they're feeling uncomfortable now that cannabis is legalized for adults, a lot of people will just go and relax their body with some cannabis when they're feeling uncomfortable. Can you talk more about that, Richard?
Yeah, so there are a lot of studies that have been done on the effects of cannabis, CBD versus THC, and they speak to a lot of different angles. And there still needs to be a lot more research done. What we're seeing, and we did talk about this a little bit last week, what we're seeing is that CBD is what is having all of the positive effects, and a lot of the negative effects are coming from the THC. But the THC is what is giving you that immediate rush of pleasure, but the long-term effects of that are pretty negative overall. I know that nowadays vaping is a pretty big concern. And vaping is, again, it's one of those things that short-term is better than smoke for sure. But long-term, because it's water-based, there's more perfusion into the lungs, can be more harmful over time. So with any of these things, it's so important to just think about not only the short-term effects, which I know are more gratifying in the moment, but to think about the long-term effects. And that's true with any aspect of our health that we're looking at. I mean, this can relate to CBD. It can relate to any of the things that we're putting in our body, whether it's food, whether it's a vaccine. To think from the mindset of, I have a body that's going to be living for a long time. How can I protect it so that, when I get to a long time away from now, even though it's not in my immediate sphere, that when I get there, I'm going to be my healthiest, most in tune self.
Nice. Well done. I'm just going to go around again. I just want to give my love. The Big 6-0, Don Sanders, you're the man of the week for me. And thank you for serving Kristine Marie and Dana Droege. And there was 3 others that want to book with you. So Richard, Ellsworth, Kristine Marie, Dr. D, Don, the man, Sanders. God bless you all. Hey, let's make somebody happy today. See you next week.
You're the best around.